What's up, guys? This is your boy Ted the Review Guy, and now we're back to episode 3 of Lovecraft Country. And yeah, there's a lot that happened in episode 2, and it opened so many possibilities for the characters that we're following and what might happen in the future. And so, yeah, let's get to the review, guys. So, episode 3 is named The Holy Ghost. This was taken from James Baldwin's poem. It has to do with that, I think. And then it starts from the beginning, like the end of episode 2, where we see Uncle George dies. So this episode starts at his funeral or memory service. And we can see that our characters such as Letty, who survived death, is still not okay. She still is not dealing very well with what happened, and also obviously the death of Uncle George. And then we soon found out that Letty has bought a house in the white neighborhood, and then we found out there's a couple that was killed because they moved into a white neighborhood, which was something that apparently happened back in America, where if you're a black person and moved into a white neighborhood, they were probably gonna intimidate you somehow, or in the case of the couple, they ended up dying. And yeah, we see that the neighborhood is very wary of black people, and then they put up signs of them not being allowed, and throughout that we see Ruby and Letty talking about the house. She was bringing her in, and they have a theory of how the house could be haunted. And obviously Ruby is not happy with Letty buying a house in a white neighborhood, and yeah, they both theorize that the house is haunted. And during that, Letty almost gets killed by the house, basically, a moving elevator, and she jumps out, and then yeah, they start laughing and go and continue with the house tour. And then we move to when we see Hippolyta, who is obviously not okay with everything that has happened, especially the death of George. And we see her interactions with Tick being in the house, and she's not happy. The things that he does that Uncle George did in a certain way, and she's very, very not happy with what happened. And she thinks they lied to her about what really happened during their trip. And obviously she's not wrong, so her intuition is very right. And yeah, they didn't tell her. Oh yeah, this is when we found out that they didn't tell her the whole story of what happened to Uncle George. And we see how in the room that she was in, like, she's a person who loves astrology or astrophysics and all, is very drawn to space and all of that stuff. Because later in the episode, when they were having a housewarming for Letty, we see her gets fascinated by when she finds an Ori, and yeah, obviously with a lot of planets and all of that stuff. So that's obviously her thing. And then we move to a scene where Tick is obviously going through guilt, because if he didn't defy the ritual, Uncle George could have been saved. But obviously we wouldn't know, because Tick was gonna obviously die during that ceremony. And this plays out also with Tick, because he's overcompensating in the house, trying to do everything that fill in the gap basically that is left by Uncle George. And we see how that translates to how Hippolyta is not happy with Tick, or yeah, just Tick being there basically. After Tick realizes that he overstayed his welcome with Diana and Hippolyta, he tries to move in with his dad, and then he finds him grieving, obviously drinking alcohol, and obviously their interactions are very not kind interactions and stuff. And one of them discusses how they agreed that they will not tell Hippolyta what happened to her husband, Uncle George, and the other one wants to tell him the truth, but they tell her the truth, but the situation is so strange that they don't want to tell anyone about what happened to them when they went to Adam. And then we see Tick going to Letty to try and, well, he was going to say his goodbyes, but then was offered a place to stay there, and because he is looking for a place, he stays. And we see the dynamics of that of the neighborhood plays out when Letty moves in during a church day, which is Sunday, so that for safety, basically, the neighborhood is not there, so she's able to move in with her friends, and so that they can be safe and the white people around there will not see them and try to intimidate them or cause harm. And then we see that when they return and all of that stuff, they start making Letty's life and her friends miserable by putting bricks on the horns of their cars, and it starts making that sound all night, every day, basically. So they just trying to drive her nuts, basically, terrorizing her and stuff. So that's how she's living with whatever. So she tries to ignore it, but basically you can't ignore such things. They'll eventually annoy you to that point, so or the other party will raise the stakes of whatever they are doing because you're busy ignoring them. And as we see her being in that neighborhood, we see the community putting up signs saying signs such as "We are a white community, undesirables and must go." So which is they don't want to say black people must go, they say undesirable, which is they're trying to cover their asses, basically. So it was kind of frustrating to see those things. And then we moved to when Letty was sleeping, and while she's sleeping, the haunted house does its thing and starts sending ghosts to her. That was terrifying. I think it's something I imagine if I were to move into a house I don't know and that's creepy. That's probably what I would imagine, seeing something like that. That was terrifying. And then she wakes up in the morning, and the horns are obviously making that noise, and you can tell that she's fed up by what's happening around her, as she continues to try and ignore their blatant disrespect and obviously terrorism. And then they continue with their lives. They do the housewarming, and to drown the noise out, Ruby plays with her band so that they cannot hear what's happening on the outside. And we see during that party the attraction between Letty and Tick grows. There's a point where Tick gets jealous, and Tree is trying to hit on Letty, and obviously following his lie that he had fondue back in the day when they're in high school. And then eventually later on the episode they get it on, and something happens to Letty. She sees blood, and then she tells him that it's her time of the month. And then before Letty and Tick get it on, Letty went to the bathroom, and there was this creepy ghost behind her, because obviously I think because of what happened to her in the previous episode, death is just following her because she was revived from the dead, basically. So yeah, I think that's why these things are happening to her. And then later we see that these ghosts are revealed in Letty's pictures, and they are victims of the former homeowner who experimented on them. And then we found out that Tree lied about getting it on with Letty in high school, because she tells Tick that it was her first time. That's why she bled, and so she had this persona that she didn't really care about, and she wanted to ride that wave, basically. I don't know. She, like, a lot of people knew her a certain way, and it was all a lie. So yeah, that was interesting to see. And then yeah, as we know, like, ignoring problems doesn't really work out, because the other party might obviously amplify their racism in this case. So we see the white community that sets sets a cross on fire in their front lawn. So which was the last straw for Letty. She gets pissed, and then she goes lemonade on their cars, and ripping their bricks that they made horns with, ripping them off, just breaking those cars. And she just had enough. The way she's even swinging that bat, I mean, she's just great. And then we see Tig assembling the guys to get guns and try and protect Letty while she's busy doing her lemonade thing. And yeah, the police come, and then Ruby takes all the guns, and then they leave with the guns so that they're not found with guns in the property. And obviously they get arrested. The cops ignore what the white community has done to them. They just take them instead, arrest them instead, which is something that happens also in real life. And there's so many things I could go in and talk about, but yeah, let me not digress and continue. While they're on their way to the police station, we see how the police have been ignoring her complaints about the community and how they've been treating her. They tell her that they've never gotten any complaints and stuff, and then the officer asks Letty about if she knows about the bodies that were found there, or that were missing, that were never found in the house, and how the house might be haunted and stuff. And then we learned that the house belonged to the Winthrop, who also was referenced in the previous episodes as he was a big part in the order, the order that belonged to Titus Braithwaite and all of that stuff. Then later we see her face is not okay, which clearly shows that she was brutalized by the police. And then in her dark room, and with her pictures, we see her pictures that she took. They have been scratched, and they have these weird things that are happening to them. And she puts them down on the floor, trying to make sense of them. And then a ghostly face comes out there, telling her to get out of the house. And yeah, it's just creepiness going on there. And obviously, after the whole ordeal, the other tenants that were staying with Letty move out, and then Ruby finds out that from Letty that the money that she bought the house with belonged to their mother, and which didn't make sense to her, because Letty and her and the mother were never that close that she would leave so much money, and she gets pissed. And then we later found out that the money comes from Christina, obviously, but Letty doesn't know that yet. And then Letty does her research in on the house and learns about Dr. Harem Epstein, an astrophysicist that experimented on black people in that house. Something that I think will play a big role in the upcoming episodes. And so yeah, Letty says she decides that, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm gonna fight back, especially the ghost that's terrorizing me in the house. I'll leave the people outside of the community at the moment and focus on me. And then she brings in an exorcist type of thing, and then they perform that exorcist thing to get rid of the ghost and to set free the ghosts of the victims that were experimented on and died in that house. They perform this ritual. And then in the meantime, while the neighbors are breaking into the house, Letty's house, and then they get destroyed by the ghost of those victims. They just get destroyed. It was very satisfying to see that. And then at first the exorcism works, but then the house retaliates by setting sprinklers on, which removes their protection marks on their foreheads. And then the body of the lady who was doing the exorcism gets taken over by Harem, who tells them to get out of their house, and then tries to kill Tick, and then soon possesses Tick and takes over his body. And then he starts shouting. That was like my favorite scene in that, like the way Tick moved. It was just creepy. Like, it's one of my favorite scenes, like, in that whole series. Like, both Jonathan Majors and Janae Smollett deserve, like, Emmys for this. Like, they have to get Emmys. Like, I'm already giving them all the Emmys. They deserve all of them. That scene, like, those scenes, how she was just emotional trying to, when they were surrounding the Tig's overtaken body, while he's busy screaming, "Get out of my house, bitch! Get out of my motherfucking house, bitch!" Like, that was just incredible. Like, one of my favorite scenes there. They band together and surround Harem and do the chanting thing to get rid of him. And then his spirit, while they're busy doing that, we see that the victims are getting healed while surrounding Harem, the person who killed them basically and did experiments on them. It was just amazing to see that while they're healing and, chanting and getting rid of the evil man, and then also finding their peace. And then we see that the following day is coming. Letty makes this, like, the house a sanctuary for black people, and then she gets an interview from the newspaper talking about the place basically and stuff like that. And then we get a shot from the elevator going down, and we see those neighbors that broke into the house that were destroyed by the victims of Harem. We see their bodies lying down there, and they are bodies that were never found in that hole type of thing. And then after seeing those bodies, that's when we found out about Christina, and then about the money that she sent to Letty and how she manipulated the whole situation that Letty buys that specific house. And then we found out from when Tick approaches her to try and get rid of her. And then he tries to kill her, but that doesn't work because of Christina's powers. So Christina is looking for the Book of Names, and she has clues of where those pages are. And I think the Winthrop House is one of the things that she wants, or it has to do with that that police captain that we met earlier on the episode. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing all of that unravels and what the Book of Names means and what she wants to do with it. And I'm still not sure what's her role in this. I enjoyed this episode very much, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification and all the good things. And yeah, let's talk about the episode. And yeah, talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.